Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the recording for our next lecture, which related to the topic of humor in speech or humor-based speech. So I hope that you can look into this particular lecture thoroughly. You listen carefully because I'm pretty sure that this is one of the elements which is not really easy for us to deliver in our speech, and we know that some of our speakers that we attended to his or her speech, we found that they are very good in terms of using several elements of humor, okay, in order to maybe entertain us, in order to strengthen their ideas, their information, to make the session cheerful and so on. Alright, as the introduction, public speaking notoriously provokes fear in many speakers. That is for sure. Because some of us, when we stand in front of others, when we be given a microphone, we tend to change. Maybe before we start our speech, we think that we are confident. But when we start our speech in front of others, sometimes we feel the tremble, the nervousness, and so on. Alright, however, knowing that you have a great humorous speech to deliver can go a long way toward alleviating speaking anxiety. So some speakers say, I could never use humor in my speech. I just don't feel comfortable with it. Maybe they don't want to look silly. They don't want to share something maybe for them not necessary. But the thing is, humor in speech sometimes I can say as a very important kind of thing in certain kind of speech. Why? Because we don't want to make the emotion flatten among the audience. We want them to also be entertained so that they can follow us from the very first minute of our speech until the last minute of the speech session. Anyone can use humor. Appropriate humor relaxes an audience and makes them feel more comfortable with you as the speaker. According to scholars, humor can bring attention to the point you are making and help the audience better remember it. And then when we use humor in a presentation, right, we always ask ourselves, how do great speakers connect, engage, and entertain their audiences? One French author, his name is Victor Hugo, he said that laughter is the sun that drives winter from the human face. Imagine the effect when you are speaking to an audience of dozens, hundreds, or thousands. So when used properly, humor is a powerful tool in any speaker's arsenal, and it can have tremendous benefits, especially for the speakers. We also ask ourselves, we always ask ourselves how to incorporate humor in our speech. So some of the questions that might be arisen, what kind of speech are they expecting to hear? And then what's the general age of the audience? Are they at the same age like us? Or they are far, far younger than us? And so on. And then what audience members have in common among themselves and especially with us as the public speaker? And then what kind of humor are they likely to appreciate? So according to one of the readings, okay, that I shared in the previous slide, alright, from this particular source, alright, you can always refer to that website, alright. So these among the strategies or tips on how to incorporate humor in our speech. Number 1, developing anecdotes. The best and most comfortable place to find humor comes from your own personal experience. Maybe you can think back on any embarrassing moment or funny moment that you might not have found funny at the time. But it might be funny now, alright? Or remember a funny conversation you had with anyone, alright? And incorporate it into your speech. For a low-risk option, use a cartoon and its caption. Simple. You can Google any cartoon, alright? And then if it is related to the topic that you try to deliver at a particular time, then just put it in your PowerPoint slide. Since the cartoon is separate from you, if people don't laugh, you won't feel responsible. Keep a pad and pen handy so you can jot down funny ideas or stories that pop up into your head throughout the day. When feasible, look for humor that comes from people with whom you interact. With the one that being your audience at that particular time. So you don't have to worry about an audience having heard it before. Look for humor in the foibles or dramas in your own daily life. Or if you have small children or younger siblings, listen to humorous things they say that might appeal, that might be useful to an audience as well. Number 2, sharpening the delivery. So before using humor in your speech, practice. Practice with small groups of people, maybe with your friends, with your family members and so on. Why? Because in that particular experimental session with that experimental group, if they don't laugh or smile initially, persevere because the problem might be in the way you are delivering the joke or quip. Orang tak ketawa, orang tak senyum, maksudnya something wrong, or you need to strengthen the way how you deliver your humorous speech. So it can take practice to get comfortable with a given piece of humor. Only use humor in a speech after you are comfortable telling it from memory and have tested it. And then incorporate just enough detail for the audience to paint a mental picture of your humorous situation. And then don't drag it too much. It is enough with several punchlines, but don't drag the humors too long, because the audience, they don't want really to listen to humorous all the time. They want to listen to the information and so on, but they need it as, we call it as penengah lah, or the intermediate kind of fill up, alright? And then, right, so ini boleh baca sendiri. Okay, number 3, please mind potential misfires. Don't preview your humor by saying, alright, let me tell you a funny story. Come on, it might be funny to you, but not with the audience. Itu adalah antara tips yang bagus lah, yang mana we know that it is funny for us, at least, but don't generalize it as it could be accepted by most of the audience or all of the audience, because sometimes when the audience are not smiling, it hurt us, rasa macam shock sendiri and so on. Okay, and then these are among the benefits of using humor in a presentation. Okay, among those are, number 1, it creates a bond with the audience. A speaker who uses humor well comes across a more human, more likable. So this puts an audience at ease and make people more receptive to your ideas. And then number 2, it energizes people and keeps them engaged. When we laugh, there is a lot that goes on inside our body. Our heart rate increases, and that keeps us stimulated and alert. Number 3, it can provide emotional relief for the audience. Many talks are serious, sometimes too serious. And many talks are emotionally challenging for an audience. So, well-placed humor can give your audience some much-needed relief in an otherwise serious talk. Number 4, it helps the audience remember your points, your focal points, your important information. Alright, so laughter has been shown to improve memory and cognitive function. This is based on several studies or research done by scholars, alright, or researchers. So this help the audience remember your ideas. Number 5, humor leaves the audience with a good impression of you as the public speaker. And thank you very much. Alright, I hope that you can understand what I have tried to deliver in this particular lecture. So please find any other references that can strengthen the ideas that I have shared with you. To be a person who can incorporate humor in a speech is not easy, but you can improve yourselves, okay, by having the conception of training harder, practice harder. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.